And now, breaking news.
So I was having a chat with a family member a couple years back, and I said, there's going to be a time when investments just don't make the same sense they do today. And he said, no, stock market just always goes up. And I said, yes, but it's a bubble. There is a bubble, we just haven't seen it yet. And his thought was, well, no, young people will always invest in 401ks and retirement and all that, and businesses will as well. People need to raise capital, they raise capital. And I said, right, but the money, the value, it's a Ponzi scheme. People have to keep putting money in ever greater amounts for it to actually work. So as the baby boomers retire, it's going to start diminishing because baby boomers are going to stop earning and start spending. And when they die, their heirs, statistically, are just going to spend it like crazy. Cash it out, let's call it a day. And as that happens, as the number of stock buyers exceeds the number of stock sellers, or sellers exceeds buyers, the value comes down, and sharply. So the New York Stock Exchange is valued at something like $10 to $15 trillion, depending which measure you use and which day you check. That's great, but you couldn't actually sell it for $15 trillion. You couldn't. Because if you sold off even 10% of it, the value would go down by more than 10%, even though in theory there's the same amount of money there. So it's not like if we found out tomorrow that aliens are invading and we need all the money and all the resources to build a massive counter defense, we couldn't sell off the stock market. We couldn't sell it. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work because there wouldn't be any buyers. If the planet's gone in 6 months, who's buying stock? The stock market would completely collapse. There would be zero value there. If we found out we're getting hit by a meteor in 2 weeks and everyone's dead, great. I've got $1 million in the stock market. I'll sell it and I'll party for the next week. Well, great, but there ain't no buyers, my friend. Your $100 a share is now worth $1 a share, if that, maybe 20 cents, and tomorrow it's worth zero. That's assuming they even bother to show up and turn on the stock market. Yeah, sure, there'll be that guy who comes in to buy up a kajillion shares at a penny, hoping the meteor won't hit. But he's buying at a penny. He's gambling. Same thing with real estate. The U.S. real estate market is worth $25.7 trillion. And that's in today's dollars. Who knows before the crash? Oh, the crash. Oh, the crash. So we couldn't sell that all off because if everybody put their property up for sale, there'd be a massive glut, pennies on the dollar. There's not enough buyers. And that, my friends, is where India and China come in because they've got money to invest. So people say, oh my gosh, the Chinese are buying up all the good real estate. Well, if they're buying a disproportionately large amount, that means it's because they're paying cash for most of it. It's great. It's actually great. Immigration's the same way. Years ago, I was saying, I asked J-Dog what he thought of immigration, and he said, I think it's wonderful. See, developed countries like the US, like Japan, like Germany, have a negative birth rate, fewer than 2 births per woman. So that means if we don't allow immigration, our population will begin to fall. Now we've got resources left. We're not out of drinking water. We're low on water to use on our 10,000 acres of golf courses and lavish city parks, lush green spaces. No, that's we got to be reasonable. But drinking water, we've got it on tap. Expansion is the key. If the stock market hits a point where it starts to routinely fall, we know there's more people selling than buying right now. We know next year there'll be even more people selling than buying, and the following year, it's going to be a death spiral. Because why would anyone buy a stock if they know it's going to have fewer buyers in the future? So yeah, the whole thing is, it's worked so far, but that's only because population and wealth have continued growing. And if we stop immigration, the number of people eligible to even buy into it goes down. And if we, it's just, the whole thing is a house of cards. With that said, you know what I've invested in? The stock market. I don't have any better options. I've got a good segment on doomsday prepping coming up. You'll like that one, but it's just not quite the same as this one. So there you go. That is the truth. Oh, that is the truth about the stock market.